So in content creation, the biggest problem and the biggest enemy you're going to find is obscurity, and that means never being known, never having anybody remember you, never being anybody being aware of you. Obscurity is your biggest enemy, and that's something Grant Cardone teaches. Grant Cardone teaches that basically, being out there on multiple channels and creating multiple streams of everything is really where the secret sauce is. Obscurity is your biggest enemy. So what you want to do in doing what you do is be known as an expert in your field. So whatever that is, if that's deep sea offshore fishing, if that's hunting public land, if that is fishing freshwater bass. I'm not saying you have to be the next Kevin Van Dam or any of those guys, but you want to just be known in your circles as somebody that knows what he's talking about or she's talking about. But obscurity is your biggest enemy. So basically, getting out there and being known and creating that branding image that you know what you're talking about is important. Reach an audience at every level possible. And this is again goes back to videos, podcasts, articles, blogs, all that stuff that I teach, that I do. I try to reach people at every imaginable level that they consume content. Okay. Listening is important, and I talk about this in the e-gear guide, why I talk about podcasting so much, because podcasts and radio are passive media. Okay, you can listen to them while you're doing other things. Listen to them while you're driving to work. Listen to them while you're banging out a workout in the gym. Listen to them while you are at work, working on something, where you can listen to a little bit of music or some podcast or some radio on the side, and and there you go. I mean, that's basically why audio is going to be king one day. And you may be listening to this in the future, and it may already be king. But the funny thing is, if we have Alexas and those kind of things these days now that are just emerging, what's the future going to look like? Can you tell your phone, hey, I need a pair of Levi's, a pair of jeans, and they recommend Levi's because Levi's bought that sponsorship. This stuff is hot. I mean, it's going in new directions, and the way it's really heading its voice. That's why I'm so big about podcast and new media like that. But people are always going to be able to read. People are always going to be able to watch. People are always going to be able to listen. And reaching people at all those different levels is important. Very important. So next point is promote content in social channels consistently, but don't spam. Talked about this a minute ago. Don't spam people to death because they're not going to want to hear from you. Try to get people to listen to you and to have respect for you, but don't pound the pavement so hard to where you turn people off. All right. I've been guilty of doing that before, guys, especially with the podcast. When I first started out, I promoted in multiple groups, which is fine, on Facebook, which is fine. But banging out your offer or your brand or your awareness of this and awareness of that and this, that, and the other. If they hear from you all the time, after a while, it's going to get annoying, and they're just going to ignore you. What you want to do instead, and I say this on my next point, which is partially covered up by my video, and I apologize for that. Stay in front of your audience, and they will never be able to ignore you. You want to be, just like I talked about with the whole sales and marketing thing, politely persistent. You want to follow up with your audience. You want to be in touch. One of the best ways you can do that is with a newsletter. Build a list on your website, and if you need help building a website, I build them every day. I can help you do that, but basically just have a constant presence in front of your audience. The cool thing about email is that it's private. It's basically personal. The way people read it and cruise it and browse it. And you don't want to make your emails really long, but that's one of the best ways to stay in front of your audience is through an email list. And the way you can get an opt-in on an email list, as I talked about on the making money part of this, is basically with a little opt-in for a free ebook, a free audio, a video teaching them how to do something, and then staying in front of them with an email. Now, if you'll notice, big companies out there, there's so many to name, just about every big company out there, or medium-sized or even small business, has an email list. And there's one particular one that comes to mind that was just emailing for Father's Day, and that was South Jetty Coolers. They're one of my advertisers in the magazine and the website, and the fishgame.com website. And they basically have a offer for Father's Day. Get 15% off or whatever the case may be. Today's Father's Day, by the way, when I'm recording this. I'm just using that as an example. And They basically have the mindset of, I want to offer you something of value. So what they do in their email, that just as an example for an outdoor company, is they suggest, here's how to best store ice, here's how to best pack your ice chest. They give a lot of tech tips in those emails. And so you can do this in social media, you can do this in email marketing, you can do this in videos, podcasts, articles, blogs, whatever. Give some helpful tips, give some content that's going to be relevant, that's going to be true and genuine, and then you also want to give content that's going to be solidly important to the masses of helping them do what they do better. Okay, if it's offshore fishing, if it's saltwater bay fishing, if it's freshwater fishing, if it's hunting, like I said, public lands always a good example. Whatever it is, it's basically an idea that you have for giving value in return for their email time to read your email. Because look at how email is seen today. I know you're probably no different than me. I cruise a lot of emails and I mark a lot of them as read without even opening them, because I just don't have time to look at all of it. So you want to make sure you're a priority to your audience and they do take the time to read your stuff. It's not all about engagement. It's not all about how many likes you get and how many shares you get and so on and so forth. You just want to be out there in front of people. Don't spam. Don't be a pain in the butt, but definitely be out there and beat obscurity, if you will. So beat being unknown and be known. So that's my best advice there. So I'm going to go into a story now of how I started Warnke Enterprises, which is my business that I work on kind of on the side from what I do with Texas Fish and Game and what I do with all the outfitters and stuff. And that's how I basically bring everything together. It's my hub, if you will, of all things that I do in the outdoors. So I basically set the slide off to the side so you can see me and see everything that was in the slide. If you're listening to this on audio, that probably won't make sense, but that's the way I did it. But I basically just did a slide that says how I did it. In 2006, I connected with a guy that was selling me a gun, I think it was, on Craigslist, back when you could still sell firearms on Craigslist. This is a long time ago, 2005, 2006. And basically, he had a connection with a hunting ranch, and it was DB Hunting Ranch, which has been in existence for about 15 years now, very successful in existence. And basically, I started working with them after befriending the owner, Danny, and he's still a good friend. We talk just about every night, in the wee hours in the morning sometimes. And basically, Danny and I became friends, and they didn't have a website. And I said, any kind of business, even in 2006, it needs to have a website. So I did my best effort. It wasn't a very fancy website, but I built them one. And social media wasn't as big. Facebook had just come on the market. YouTube had just come on the market in 2005, and everything was still new. And what we have as new media today are major social channels that we have today. So basically, what I did was built him a website and started doing some basic marketing and posting in forums and groups and places like that to benefit the ranch. Well, after a while, his business grew and scaled. He was able to do live sale, which is basically the live selling of exotics, which I still do to this day. Sorry, I can't talk right now. To this day, and basically I have a part in that business, helping him broker exotic loads that come in, such as axis, fallow, sika. I mean, all these different exotic deer, exotic African game and stuff like that we have in Texas, which you can hunt year round. And I sell those to game ranches. So that was another stream of business there. Then in 2011, I met Mac and Prowler through GarQuest Bow Fishing Adventures, Marty McIntyre. How I got that is I won a gift certificate from Hill Country Bow Hunters, which is one of my 3D clubs here locally in my area, and Marty had donated that, and basically I met him. He needed some help. He needed a new website. His website guy took off and ran, disappeared like a fart in the wind, and he needed a new website. And then he introduced me to Mac and Prowler, and Mac and Prowler basically introduced me to Texas Fish and Game in 2013 when I agreed to meet with them, and then it's all kind of history from there. Started the Best of the Outdoors podcast in 2015. In 2011 as well, I learned through Marty and my connection with GarQuest about Crosswater Outfitters, which is my fishing ministry that I work with in Central Texas and East Texas. and basically I got invited to some of those trips, started doing some content creation around them, and just started banging out stuff, websites, content. They needed a website too. Camp Agape came around in 2012, and basically they needed website help because they had a newly designed website. They bidded against me not to use me for their website initially, which I'm kind of grateful for now, the way it kind of worked out. But Camp Agape basically helped me do more work in content creation and stuff for them and for other people around them, and test out my abilities, as I talk about in the ebook that I wrote. Nonprofits will help you test out your abilities of content creation, just writing posts for them on Facebook, posting on their Facebook page, doing that kind of stuff. And so that was a really great help to me. And then I was helping a lot of kids that needed a lot of help, because it's a bereavement camp, grief camp for kids. And and then I'm at Texas Fishing Game, and then earlier than that, I got sponsored by Gold Tip as a co-op pro staff, our co-op staff shooter, and then Grim Reaper Broadheads was in 2010, I think it was. So all this stuff has worked together and built on top of each other. DB Hunting Ranch years ago started a processing and taxidermy facility. So along with the live sale on the hunting ranch, they have a taxidermy and processing facility. And then the next thing I'm going to do probably is build them an online store, another way to do e-commerce. These are all things, drop shipping and that kind of stuff. These are all things that basically feed on each other that I have up here on the screen. And I write for the Texas Fishing Game blog all the time. Post stuff on there. The podcast goes up on there. Started the podcast off of the Mac and Prowler, message. And my first episode was how to start a TV show on the online world. So that was in 2015, March of 2015. And I basically just grew it from there. And that's just kind of how I did it. This is just a small sampling of the stuff that I've done. Built a lot of websites, been on a lot of pro staffs. This is just kind of how I got started. And it all started with a connection that I made with DB Hunting Ranch in 2006 to just dive into the industry and just start providing value. What I did in that case, because I didn't know Danny from Adam and Danny didn't know me from Adam, is I basically said, can I build you a website and trade for a hunt? And can I help you market the website and help you grow your business? That's how it all started. All right. It's not ridiculously hard. Is it worth it? Yes, it has been worth it for me in my journey. This is just a small sampling of what my journey looked like when I got into all this stuff and everything that I do now in the outdoors. But I love this stuff, guys. I kind of get teary-eyed when I talk about this sometimes, because of the journey that I've been on. It's been a rough journey, but a very benefit and value-filled journey, because I've always given back. And the way I give back these days is through the nonprofits I work with, like Camp Agape and Crosswater Outfitters and Hill Country Bow Hunters, getting kids involved in hunting and fishing, getting soldiers, reminding them how much we're thankful for them in Crosswaters, international students we work with at Crosswaters, introducing them to Jesus Christ, introducing them to the love of God. A lot of these, people come from countries that are very intolerant of religion and very intolerant of a relationship with God of any kind. So, anyway, those are just the kind of things that I've done over the years to bring value to the people that I work with and to the people that I serve. And it all starts with giving value and starting relationships. That's where it all starts. I'll really quickly mention my relationship with Grim Reaper. I talked about this earlier. They ended up needing a broadhead. They needed more people to promote their products. But the thing is, they had to trim their pro staff. They had a lot of dead weight. And I, basically came to the approach, when you're contracting, I'm going to be expanding. All right. When you're cutting down your list, I want to be a part of it. And that's not easy to do all the time. But the thing is, the whole concept of this is I expand while they contract. When the economy contracts, I've got multiple streams of income. When a pro staff company, a pro staff opportunity contracts, I'm going to provide enough value for them to keep me on or add me. And that's what I've done successfully over the years, is those kind of things. Same deal with Gold Tip. Gold Tip didn't know me from Adam when I approached the guys over there. And now I've been on their co-op staff for 3 years. And, basically just keep on. Every time I have the chance to plug them, every time I have the chance to showcase that kind of stuff, that's what I do every time. So that's kind of my secret sauce, if you will. That's my story.